Welcome one and all to Umami Manga. I'm Petter and this is James.
How's it going?
And today we're talking about Volume 7 of Frieren Beyond Journey's End. I honestly don't really have anything to say before we dive into the discussion topics, but if you have anything, go for it.
I love this volume. You know,
That's
I
true.
mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of what I've been wanting. Not to say that the other volumes have been lacking, but it's building in a way that is very appropriate for me. Uh,
It is.
so I'm certainly excited, and also I was very wrong in some aspects. Uh, in my predictions of what was going to happen.
Well, we both were.
Yeah, no, I think yeah. Well, I wasn't gonna speak for you, but yes, we
Thank you.
we were kind of off.
Yes.
Not that I'm upset about that.
Oh,
More
not at
so,
all. Absolutely. But
maybe more so embarrassed. But I'm happy. I'm happy with the way it went.
for sure. And before we get to maybe the most exciting part, let's start this discussion by talking about the main protagonist, Frieren. She expresses that she's really happy about Fern's success, like about Fern becoming
Mm,
a first class mage, and I thought that was really sweet to see. It feels kind of like the type of pride that you'd see from like a mother toward her daughter or something like that.
mm,
Which I mean, obviously, it's also kind of discussed by the end of the volume a little bit between her and Stark when they're talking about Frieren's relationship to Fern, like yeah, whether or not it's like a mother type of role or not, but
mm-hmm,
I do enjoy like seeing those kinds of thoughts or not necessarily thoughts, or I guess by the end it was a little bit like that, but here at the start
mm-hmm.
where she just showed that, well, yeah, she was just proud of Fern in that way. I thought was a nice sign of some kind of an emotion that we are starting to see more and more emotions. I believe from Frieren, which and this is one of the examples that I really like.
Hmm, for sure. I just think what left the biggest impression on me is that Fern might become an even greater mage than she is, or more famous mage. Maybe the exactly what she said. And
Right.
think that's pretty incredible to say, especially since she was the mage of the hero team that beat the Demon King. So
Exactly.
how do you get more famous than that?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's a huge statement, and yeah, it'll be
yeah,
interesting to see whether it's gonna be true or not.
but truly she takes pride in Fern and has definitely has a growing relationship with her. Even though she even says like I still don't know who Fern is or I don't know if she says everything or just what
Mm,
Fern is. But
yeah.
she, I don't know. Part of me thinks she's not giving herself enough credit,
Right.
but maybe that's also just her elvish mindset.
Precisely. Yeah, I mean, because I also thought about that. Like, either she's being unnecessarily hard on herself, or her definition of knowing someone is just completely different somehow.
Hmm.
I feel like, but
Yeah, maybe.
it's interesting. I believe we discussed this briefly in like one of the first two discussions on this. I think
Definitely.
where
Hmm.
maybe it's due to her. I mean, being an elf. I mean, it probably ultimately is. I believe, or at least it's got something to do with that, and like that's
Hmm.
why. Like maybe to her, like truly knowing someone, she needs to have known them for like hundreds of years or something like that.
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know. Although as again, like she is starting to understand humans more and more, like steadily, kind of. I think, and so perhaps she will actually realize that she truly does know Fern and Stark and her previous party as well, like in due time.
Yeah. Yeah. Another moment in this book that left an impression and kind of got me a little emotional,
Hmm?
or not emotional, but it hit me was uh, the part where you have Virbel. He mentioned that he wanted to be, or he wanted to do the little things to help people,
Mm.
and that reminded Fern of Himmel. And she basically said to Himmel, "Don't worry, that the world is slowly changing." I don't know. I really like that small little moment of her reassuring Himmel, who's dead, but I guess it's more so for her. Just a little thing.
Yes, yeah, no, it's really nice. on a completely different note, something that I thought was kind of funny, partially funny, but also also kind of sweet in its own way, was when Frieren explained how the magic nullifying crystals work, and we got to, well, yeah, we as readers also kind of got to know what that was. My favorite part about that was just to see how amazed Frieren was by the fact that you could make the stone glow. Like, and just it's not that big of a thing. Sure, it's kind of cool that it glows pretty strongly for seemingly a pretty long time, but like compared to like all of the other magic and things we've seen in the world, it's a very kind of basic or quote unquote lame thing. But seeing how passionate Frieren is about that small little thing, I love that. I think that's beautiful, and obviously it's very in character for her. But I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah. No,
um,
I agree. It just yeah, it ties into her love for the littlest and kind of useless magic stuff.
right. By the way, um, toward the end of that chapter, when they were in the cave and they
Hmm.
were just before they ran away from the monster in there, Frieren was able to make a magic nullifying crystal levitate. How does that work?
Really?
Yeah,
She she made a levitate?
like right before she made it glow, like she like levitated it toward the monster. Are you seeing it?
Yeah.
Now, how does that work?
So I read it as you just tossed it. I don't
I
know
guess that could be it.
because that's the only way it makes sense, right?
Mm.
Unless you're what it seems you maybe implying that she has some sort of ability to still use magic in this nullifying area.
Yeah, like yeah, because that was the thought that occurred to me. Like, could it be that Frieren is actually just that strong that she isn't affected by these crystals, and like that she was just faking it all along, like that she couldn't use magic. I don't know.
I don't know,
But although you are right, it could be that she was tossing it, and that I just interpreted that as it looked to me like it was floating.
but
But yeah,
I look at it and I can totally see why you would think that because there's really not much of emotion there, you know.
right.
Hmm. But I will say, for her to just totally pretend like she doesn't have the power to use magic and fall down and everything, that seems like a little too much work for her. I mean, obviously, I don't doubt her powers. It's more so her motivation. I don't know if that. I don't see her as being one of those like wise teachers who's trying to teach a lesson kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Um,
I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait for the anime to get here.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Well, similar to Stark, I was also pretty impressed with Frieren for being able to notice that he was feeling tense in that moment, or he was feeling a little down, kind of. And she
Hmm.
picked up on that. Obviously, we did talk about it a little while ago how she is more and more kind of understanding humans better.
Mm.
But I thought that was one of the stronger kind of signs of that, I believe, in this book.
Hmm.
She actually went out of her way to ask him about that.
It's interesting because she notices it, but then also interprets it the wrong way. You know,
Mm.
so she's still trying to understand things, but I do think that the old Frieden would not be able to pick up on things like that, or pick up that there's something off. You know,
Precisely, yeah. She wouldn't have noticed anything probably.
but I do think that her assuming that Stark would be happier away from the party was kind of a bonehead like decision. Free Ren,
Yeah.
you know nothing.
My last thing on Frieren, and honestly, this isn't even that much on her, but I wanted to mention it somewhere, so I'll mention it here. Is that
Hmm.
the graph that Frieren retrieved the sword for?
Hmm.
He was called Dach, which means
Dach.
it means roof in German. I
Oh,
couldn't
okay.
exactly place that like to any kind of significance, really. But to me, like, or this word in particular in German is kind of funny because, or funny, I don't know if it's funny, but like my German textbook in school for like 3 of my first years um, as a German student was called Das Dach, which means the roof. I don't know.
Okay.
It is what it is, I guess. But well, I have that kind of connection, I guess, to that word.
Huh.
But yeah, no idea why they went with that name for that family or for that character.
He has a roof over his head. I don't
I mean,
know.
I guess he he does.
Anybody could say that, I guess.
Anyway, do you have anything else on Frieren?
Actually, similar to your not so related point, I as soon as the fake priestess lady came out of the village, it was like, "Oh, I'm a priestess. Do you want to pray with me?" I was like, "She's the demon."
Yes,
She's the
dude,
demon.
same.
It was just like written all over her face. She's the demon.
Yeah, not only was it like her design was just kind of fishy, but also like I believe the last thing that was spoken before she appeared on a panel was, I believe Frieren said something that she couldn't detect any life forms or something like that.
Yes. I do remember. Yes.
And then she appears and is like, wait a minute.
Like, wait a minute.
Definitely fishy from the start. Yeah. That was pretty sad, by the way, like that whole kind of side thing.
Yeah.
But I do like it when the story kind of goes to those kind of darker sides.
Yeah. She just came out blasting, as soon as she realized, although it didn't take too long.
No, did not. I mean, she may have known from the beginning.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, where is she going with this?
Like, if you and I picked up on it from the start, there's like obviously Frieren must have done it too.
Right, totally. Did we know? We probably did. That demons don't have to eat humans. Like, we knew that, or not?
Maybe I can't say for sure. I don't know for sure, but it didn't come as a surprise to me.
Yeah, same.
But
it was still sad for her to say that, especially when the demon's like, "Oh, I gotta eat." It's like, yeah, but you don't even need to eat humans.
Yeah, right.
It's like, ooh.
Yeah, it kind of makes them creepy in a similar way that Titans are in Attack on Titan.
Yeah, very much so.
They also don't need to eat humans, but they do anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Very well. With Frieren's discussion being over, Stark and Fern went on a date. Let's talk about this.
This is the climax, the best part of the entire volume.
It is incredibly exciting. Stark asked Fern to go on a date with him, kind of very spontaneously, which was a blast to just see that moment and kind of Fern's, I think, kind of shocked reaction to it, like initially there. Was very fun.
She is very unique in the way she reacts to things sometimes. I don't find it very, very typical, and she's kind of hard to read.
Yeah.
In a way, but also easy to read. I don't know. It's kind of back and forth. But I really like this kind of interaction that they had there, where she's definitely putting down hints that, oh, I have all day by myself.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, I'm gonna get at her. I'm gonna tease her. I'm gonna mess with her. What are we going to date? And then she just drops the book. And I dropping the book. What? How do you take that? Shock, happiness? Surely not anger.
No. Like I think he kind of read it as that at first, but no. Yeah. Like I took that as some kind of surprised glee, maybe, but I mean she was doing her best to hide it, and I believe she succeeded at hiding it, but I took it as some kind of positive surprise.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely at first took it as surprise, but when I read it a second time, I took it more so like you said, surprised glee. Like, just she's so excited that finally it happened, but she's able to keep a stone face so well.
Oh yes.
But there's also something very endearing about that whole interact. It's like teasing the reader in a way.
Oh yes.
I like it.
It's very, very fun. And real quick before we continue with this whole thing, this date that they end up going on takes place within the fortified city of Heiss. Heiss in German means hot, and I believe there's two different reasons for that name.
Oh,
there's the hot springs, but then there's also the hot date.
Yeah.
Um,
Things are getting steamy.
exactly.
Steamy.
I like that very much.
Although that being said, this is a very wholesome date. Like
Oh yeah,
very wholesome date. Like
for
this
sure.
is, first date, two awkward kids getting to know each other better, that kind of endearing moment that you usually see in a rom-com or something like that, but
Yeah.
uh, this is this is nice, very nice.
Very nice. I love how both of them like were really preparing for the date in their own ways and being kind of bashful about it and everything. Both of
Yeah.
them asked Frieren for help with various things. Obviously, Stark with trying to find a good place that Fern would like, and Fern, well, she wanted to dress up, which I don't think she got any help from Frieren on that. I believe she picked the dress herself, but she did dress up, which I mean, both
Hmm.
of them just so adorable here.
Yeah. I found it interesting that Stark was like, was Fern always this cute?
Yeah,
Uh,
he just now realized.
yeah, it's just like, Stark, where have you been? But it does make me think that, is Fern more invested in this current development than Stark? Not saying Stark isn't on board with this at all. I just wonder if this is more exciting to Fern than it is for Stark at this point, and maybe he's not
Hmm.
completely realizing or fully comprehending his feelings for her. I don't know. What do you think? Or are they at the middle? What do you think?
Ooh, I hadn't really thought of it in that way yet.
I know. I'm sorry.
I mean, well, in a way I have, but like comparing the two specifically, I hadn't exactly. I believe actually, I'm gonna say they're pretty even so
Okay.
far. I believe,
Fair. Hmm.
but yeah, no, that is an interesting thought though. I mean, so far, yeah, there isn't too much to go on. Although I definitely see your point as well, the why it could be that way. But
I mean,
yeah,
to be fair, he was worried about the date, and he wanted to
right.
make sure it's perfect and everything like that. So yeah, maybe he did understand it. But I guess it's the whole, wow, has she always been this cute, and not not taking the let's go on a date thing very seriously at first. Um, I guess because he just didn't think she would react in a positive way.
Hmm. He was
Uh,
pretty like stiff at first though. Like he wasn't acting like he usually
true,
does. Like
true.
which I believe might point toward him actually taking it seriously and
Mm,
because of that being nervous about the situation.
mm-hmm.
I will say he was kind of dense though, like for not realizing why Fern dressed up for the date. Like, come
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah. He's got a ways, but I don't know. I really like what they have going on here, and it's such
Hmm.
a simple yet believable, steady relationship. It's not over the top.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and maybe not all relationships were like this, but I think a lot of them do can tend to be more natural, kind of um, simple type relationships, and not just grand romantic gestures.
Absolutely. And especially in these early kind of stages of it.
Yeah.
Um, I really liked how Fern she really just wanted to go to places that Stark had picked, like that he himself had
Mm.
picked out was something that she said like toward the end of the date, and I think that speaks like that definitely speaks to there being something there, like some feelings or curiosity, for
Mm-hmm.
her toward him. Um, Plus, she says we finally get a chance to go on a date.
Yes. Yes.
Her saying that makes it sound a lot to me like she's been wanting this for a while,
Yes.
right?
That
Um,
that's the same kind of, and that's why I was raising the question earlier. One of the reasons is that
mm,
she says finally, like finally we
exactly.
can go on a date, and Stark on the other hand, I think, well, I think he was taking it seriously. Um, I don't think he ever thought of it as a possibility. Um,
That's fair. That's
really,
fair.
and maybe that's more so that, oh, she would never want to date me,
Yeah.
kind of thinking. because I think in some cases he might think that Fern doesn't like him.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. To some extent, I agree. Yeah.
yeah, but no, that was very interesting and not something I expected,
Mm,
and don't know if that's a misinterpretation or what, but very interesting.
definitely. Although something that I guess could speak for Stark's feelings a bit was, or something that I picked up on anyway, was how he refers. There was one point when he referred to their date as their first date, which to
Oh
me kind of sounds
yeah,
like it sounds like he's implying that he's expecting more dates to come,
that's true.
and that would point toward at least some level of confidence in himself and the possibility of them dating, which is awesome. I believe he should be confident about that. Um,
Mm,
and obviously, as I think you alluded to before, he expresses how all he wanted was to make Fern happy,
mm-hmm.
which is also incredibly romantic, really. Um, so yeah, there's clearly a ship here, and like
Oh yeah.
it's we've talked about the possibility of this before, but like now it's actually before us.
I mean, the ship is at the port, ready to be christened. Like we're going. It hasn't started sailing yet. Um,
Yeah, I know.
it's gonna get his commissioning and just get that champagne bottle ready. We'll break it on the
Exactly.
bow and get going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did. I was kind of a bummer a little bit to see her kind of disappointed in what their date was, but I see her reasoning, and like you
Mm.
said, she wanted to go where Stark would like to go, wanted to learn more about him.
Right. So that is really sweet.
It is really sweet, but it's also kind of there was part of me was like, oh, like it's kind of a bummer that it wasn't the perfect date.
uh,
But I it all becomes satisfying to me after you see, well, they're talking on the bench, and then what she looks like in the hot spring, and how satisfied and happy she is.
yeah.
Uh, they're gonna be all right, is what I felt.
Precisely, and like Fern was in a good mood after the date. Yeah, like
Yeah,
she even gave Frieren like the good mood
good mood
braids.
braids.
So yeah, no, it's a very good sign. But about the kind of imperfection of the date, I actually really liked that kind of, because
Hmm.
like, I mean, it certainly wasn't a terrible date, even though
No.
it for sure was far from perfect, with Fern having these feelings of disappointment to some extent. But I don't know, I appreciated the imperfection, and it, I don't know, to me it made the situation just feel a bit more real, kind of. And okay, it's kind of like it wasn't romanticized like a lot of these sorts of
Hmm.
stories usually go in fiction, I believe.
That's fair.
So I don't know. I just really appreciated that kind of realism to it, and like and yeah. I mean, as you said, it's clearly not bad. Like there is a lot of hope here, and like I'm sure
Hmm.
that this ship will leave port one day. But yeah, like just this first step, it wasn't ideal 100%, and I appreciated that.
I mean, they're a bunch of awkward teenagers. Uh,
Yes, they are.
close. Actually, how old is Sark? Is he 17 or
I
18?
believe they're both 18.
They're both 18.
Mm,
So yeah, still teenagers technically, becoming adults, and this is new experiences for them. And
mm,
Stark doesn't have great self confidence. Fern is not one to show her emotions clearly.
mm-hmm.
Um, but I think in both cases, you saw some great progress for them, and I think at the end of the day, this was a perfect imperfect date. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
No. Yeah. Yeah. I can absolutely get behind that.
Although
Mm.
part of me did want to see what the perfect date would have been like, going to see what the Stark places were that would make Fern smile.
I really hope we'll get that, like on a second or third date or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. After all, this is the first date.
Precisely. There's only room for improvement.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, dude, I think that would honestly be a really good follow up if on the next date or something like that, Stark would I guess, take her advice and just show her some places that he likes. Although I think it would be kind of funny if she just ended up not enjoying that date just because it's like places that she, for whatever reason, just doesn't enjoy at all. um,
That's also what I'm worried about. That's the
yeah.
thing. It's like he took a place that she should enjoy, right? And then, but she didn't. She was a little disappointed. It's just like, gosh dang it, what is a guy supposed to do? Um, but she was, grinning from ear to ear basically at the end. So it was fine.
Absolutely.
One other thing about this is, uh, in some ways, dates are just kind of a fun thing to go on, not necessarily one to start a relationship with. Um, to each their own, but I know some people who just like to who would go on dates with people. And there's no sort of like romantic commitment. You know what I mean? It's just
Right.
I'm hanging out with this girl and we're calling it a date.
Mm.
Um, and I think there's something fun about that. So maybe that's part of why she's so satisfied, because it was, it was, that's a fun thing to do. But I do think at least the shipper in me does think that a lot of that satisfaction comes from her feelings for Stark.
Yes.
Even if she
Yeah.
won't quite admit it yet.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, they're both not ready for that yet. But yeah, no,
Right.
I feel like there is absolutely enough signs pointing toward a ship.
Yeah.
Anything else on them as a ship? I guess.
Not until predictions. Not until
Cool. Cool.
predictions.
Very well. Then let's move on to just Fern separately. She passed. She is a first class mage now.
Officially, yeah.
Yay.
Asked for a spell to clean clothes, and you know, talk about a useful, useless spell. Like
Mm.
I think that's one of the most useful ones you can get. Really, I mean, cleaning clothes sucks. Getting a spell to do that for you, yeah, heck yeah,
It's a legendary spell from the Age of Myth.
yeah. I mean, I don't know what Serie has an issue with, man.
Seriously. No, but I really love that. She is learning well from Frieren.
Indeed.
I also thought it was really sweet to see how much Fern cares and treasures the gifts that she's received from Frieren and from Stark.
Yeah.
That was very nice.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, that scene or that moment when she and Frieren were sitting by the river, it took place in the Great Sanft Forest.
Oh.
Sanft means soft or gentle in German. Um,
Oh.
and the way I interpreted that, because it was in the same chapter where, or the chapter was at least partially about kind of Stark's sensitive side and how he needed to be, or he needed to be treated more softly or gently, kind of, from, well, I guess from Fern specifically. So that's my interpretation as to why they chose that name for the forest. But well, I guess that scene by the river itself was kind of gentle, or if you
Mm.
will. So I guess it
Mm.
could be that as well. But yeah, anyway. Anything else on Fern?
No, I think we said everything that I have written down.
Yeah, I guess there was mostly stuff in the shipping part of it for her this volume, but
Right.
without further ado, let us move on to Stark then. I love to see how close or how easily he becomes close with people, really. Like
Yeah.
in that town where the exam was held, Oysterst,
Mm-hmm.
it seemed like he became friends with like a bunch of townsfolk there. It's great to see like just his talent, I guess, at making connections with people. It's very cool.
Yeah. No, people really adore him no matter where he goes, and that's such a wonderful trait to have,
Absolutely.
and probably something that Fern likes about him. But
Indeed.
uh, when they're at the inn and he's making, or he tells her that he's not going to go with Verbal.
Mm.
I love that moment because you see it reinforced why he's with their party. It's not just because Frieden's there, partly because Fern was the one that encouraged him, and I think is probably gave him a good enough reason to join on their quest.
For sure.
So I think it emphasizes how important Fern is to Stark in actuality.
Definitely. Yeah, like their relationship or whatever you want to call it, sure it's a bit rocky, kind of like it's not always perfect. Like they sometimes they rub each other the wrong way in various ways, but ultimately Stark he enjoys being around both Frieren and Fern, and
Mm-hmm.
it's yeah, it was just lovely to see that kind of reaffirmed there.
Mm-hmm.
But by the way, why do you think Stark decided to wait outside with Frieren when Fern went inside to like do the ceremony? Because I was a little bit shocked as to why he wouldn't go along with Fern when it was really only Frieren that was banned from the place.
Mm-hmm. I wasn't necessarily shocked. I was more so disappointed that he didn't go with Fern.
I guess
But
yeah, definitely disappointed.
yeah, but I think he was picking up on the signals that Fern was giving him. I think Fern wanted him to go be with Frieden. Like I'm pretty sure there's a moment where she kind of smiles after Stark makes that decision.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, yeah. So Frieden says, "I'll wait outside." Stark looks over to Fern, and I guess he just kind of picks on what Fern is thinking and says, "I'll wait outside too." And Fern is smiling in the next panel.
Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Then he must have picked up on something there. You're right. You're right.
I feel like that's what it is. Which you
Mm.
know, even more credit because Stark can be dense sometimes,
For sure.
but in this case, yeah, he's really on the same wavelength as Fern.
Yeah. When it counts, I guess.
Well, when it counts, I mean, it's not gonna be perfect. I understanding the another person is not easy.
No, no,
Um,
it definitely is not.
but I don't think someone who's not close would have been able to pick up on that. Well, it depends on the person. But anyway, I think it's a good sign.
Yes.
The chapter where they go on the pointless adventure, it just I like those little sweet callbacks to his master and just the reminiscing about the tales he told him and trying to relive them because
Right.
that's part of the point of his journey is to relive the moments his master had and then come back and share the tales to him.
Precisely.
And yeah, a pointless adventure becomes a precious memory. I think we can all relate to that in some aspects. Some
Absolutely.
pointless adventures can be quite traumatizing. I'll admit, but in some aspects they do become precious memories.
Right, and situations that were kind of a drag or kind of not fun in the moment, I think often make for funny stories to retell
Yeah, absolutely.
in some
They
sense.
can be,
Yeah, they can be.
in the right person's hands.
True, true. But yeah, I agree. That was really nice. He just wanted to see the same view that Eisen had seen, or that Eisen had told him about.
Yeah.
And I guess yeah, the pointless journey itself, I guess, is part of the appeal. Um, by the way, that secret hot spring of the Etwas Mountains, Etwas in German means something. Like it means the word something.
There you go. That the some of the German words weren't really working out this volume. It felt like, but that one, mm,
Yeah,
that
right.
that hits it good.
Yeah, it is. All right, then let us move on to Serie next. Her intuition is always right, apparently.
Apparently,
Think what you will about her as a person, but at least she does kind of stick to her ideology and she doesn't fail people for no reason. Like I feel like she's very just in her own way,
yeah,
you know, and that's something that I actually really like started to respect about her here.
absolutely. I think this volume changed my perception of her quite a bit,
Yeah.
um, for various reasons, and one of those reasons is that she didn't fail everybody. Uh, it didn't seem like she was just failing people because she's petty. Well, except for Frida, she definitely failed her pettiness. She is a child in that aspect, but I do think she has good judgment and strong ideals that she believes in,
Mm,
and maybe not necessarily maliciously so. Uh,
no. Mm,
Definitely less of a uh, terrible person than I had originally thought.
same. Mm.
I'm not saying she's perfect, but I respect her more than I did before.
Definitely, definitely. And yeah, like yeah, she actually passed all of the six characters that remained when this volume began. She passed all of them, which was a big surprise, I think, to both of us probably.
Yeah, not what we predicted. I think I said what, four at most. I think.
Yeah. At most, I believe was what
'Kay,
we.
I think I was thinking three, but four at most. uh, but
Yeah, and
you were right about Denken. I think you were pretty adamant that Denken would get through.
I was pretty sure. I felt very sure about Fern, Ubel, and Denken. However, the other three I was pretty sure wouldn't pass at all. So it was fun to see.
Yeah,
Um,
I guess we could say which ones passed, real quick. So Fern, Denken, Ubel, Land, Verbal, and Method. Is that how you say?
Methode.
Methode. Okay. I tried.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they all passed, which I think Methode is out of nowhere for me. Like I'm quite surprised.
Yeah, she passed, but not sure why she passed.
Yeah, yeah. Wait a minute. Did she just compliment her and then that was the end of it?
Seemingly.
Huh.
Uh,
Maybe she's more of a child than I thought.
yeah. I'm not sure. Uh, but yeah, no, it was fun. And we also learned that even though Siri doesn't like to admit it, she really does care about all of the apprentices that she's had over the years.
Yes.
And that was also something really sweet, and that also really just adds to, I guess, her likability.
I think we maybe I'm misremembering, but I think we kind of touched on this with Flamme. Like there
Mm.
had to be a reason why she kept taking apprentices.
Right.
And I don't know. I felt like she maybe thought they were cute or wanted some sort of companionship in some way. And I think this volume, while not necessarily supported exactly what I was saying, but it just showed that she does actually care and that uh, their time with her is not necessarily wasted time.
Mm.
It just may not be to the uh, her really high standards of becoming better maids than she is, but she cares deeply about each and every one of them.
Yeah. So that yeah, very very positive surprise.
We also learned that the flowers that were at I
Mm.
guess I don't know what you call the garden, the place where she was passing and failing people
Yeah.
was Flammus flower spell.
Yes.
After all the trash she talked about it, it's just
Right.
like, well, I keep some of them or something like that. And it's
Mm.
just surprisingly sentimental.
It is. It's funny too because in almost every scene where she has like someone to judge in there, she's looking at the flowers, and a lot of like I feel most of those scenes she's just kind of standing facing the flowers,
Yeah,
which is yeah also speaks to her, I guess, the way that she cares and that side of her.
right. And I just love how she says, "I've never regretted taking on an apprentice." It's like, wow,
Mm.
did not expect that.
Right, yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome that we can actually like this character now,
Right, because I
or
really
like
didn't
or her
like her
the
before.
person. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I had theorized that she would take on Ubel as her apprentice.
Yes, yeah, we both theorized about
Oh,
that.
we both did,
Hmm.
but that didn't happen.
No.
And part of me was a little disappointed because I was really excited to see where the story would go from there. And I
Hmm.
guess that's because I like you had not had great feelings about her and thought maybe there would be some malicious intention there. But
Uh-huh.
on top of everything else we learned, her more or less just passing and then shooing her off is almost an indication of Serie's good intentions.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's a good point.
But I'll talk more about that in Ubel's section.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Very well. Then shall we move on to Denken?
Yes.
So yes, he also passed the exam. So no need to escort him
Dang it!
anymore.
I thought it'd been cool.
It would have been. It would have been. I did like that speculation of yours. But either way, now he can go visit his wife's grave, and
Mm,
and I thought it was also kind of interesting that we learned that his wife passed away when he was only in his mid 20s, so very
yeah.
early in his life.
Mm,
And after that, at least from my understanding, after his wife's death, he pretty much immediately started dedicating his life to just being an imperial mage. So like, and I don't know. I guess I don't know everything, but I kind of assume he didn't like engage in any other relationships or like go on any other dates with anybody else. Of
uh-huh.
course, we can't know for sure, but kind of in my head, it just feels like with the profession that he took on, it wouldn't leave much time for a family life, perhaps. Um, so I think he's just really been a very lonely person for most of his life, which is just really tragic.
And it makes so much more sense why he's doting on what's her name?
Oh yeah, Laufen. Mm,
Yeah, yeah, as his new grandchild. Like
that's true.
he doesn't he doesn't really have money to spend on. He doesn't have people close to him. It's poor
Mm,
guy.
yeah.
Yeah, I wonder the time frame of when his wife died and when he was a mage because I'm guessing in order to get money and power, he would have become an imperial mage or try to, and then somehow help out his wife in that way, medicine or something like that.
Mm,
But in the process, she clearly died. So I don't know, or maybe it was she died before that, and then he started
mm.
that process to
But
become imperial mage. I'm not sure.
actually, you may be right in the fact that he may have been an imperial mage since before, but it wasn't until a couple of days after her death that I believe Serie opened up this thing that allowed people to become like
Right.
first class mages and get like a spell of their choosing. That thing
Hmm.
was after. So yeah. It made it like the imperial mage thing may have been since before.
I wonder if he would have been able to pass it, like if that association had started, say, 5 years earlier, would he have been able to pass it in time before she passed? I don't
Right.
know.
That's a
It
good
makes you
question.
wonder how many times has he taken this exam, if at all.
Oh, dude. Yeah, that's an interesting thought. Maybe he's done it like tons of times.
I don't know. It seems interesting why he would wait. Well, maybe he just lost the. Maybe that's it. He lost the motivation after she died, or never had the motivation
Mm,
because she died. And then as now that he's so close to his, so close being a strong word, but to his own death,
mm.
wanting to visit his wife's grave now, maybe he felt push come to shove and decided to
Right.
take it. Maybe that's what it is.
True. Maybe there's more fire in him now than there ever has been before,
Yeah.
which would be interesting, especially since that's the reason why Syria passed him. That because he had
Oh,
like a kind of a youthful kind of fire within him.
that's true.
That's what she saw. But if
Hmm.
if it's true that this is only something that he got recently and never had as a youth, it's kind of ironic in a way. If obviously
uh,
this is kind of headcanony, but still it's fun to think about.
no, I agree, and I think because of his wife's death is probably why he didn't have that
Hmm.
fire in him. I think this also explains why his wife is buried up there and he's down here, uh, separated from that. Because I always thought that was kind of funny. It's like why exactly is he trying to get up there? How did his wife get up there and die in the first place? But basically, she had died at a young age. It happened years
Hmm.
ago. So before
Precisely.
before there was a ban on traveling up there.
Right. Hmm. Yeah, precisely. It makes a lot of sense. So yeah, very glad that he can go back there now, and also very glad that Frieren managed to help him see the joy in magic again.
Yeah, and interesting to see that Frieren was also his inspiration to becoming a mage in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
So affecting his life in more ways than one.
For sure. All right, next, let's talk a bit about Virbal. Also passing the exam, of course, and
Mm-hmm.
we also kind of found out when he passed the exam that he has a pretty similar view on magic as Serie does,
Mm.
which wasn't necessarily surprising. He's kind of had that demeanor, or I guess his demeanor has been in a way that I'm not surprised to find out
Mm-hmm.
about that, I suppose. Um, but something that I was a little bit surprised by was just to see how big of a kind of a fanboy he was of Himmel the hero, and how he really strives to live and be a lot like Himmel.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was surprisingly wholesome, kind of from that character.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of the stereotypical tough, nice guy. You know what I mean? Like, he seems to be very like much like a punk, but he's
Mm,
soft boiled on the inside. Does that
right.
make sense?
Yeah.
Um, I'm saying that a lot this time around. Forgive me,
All good.
because I don't think I make sense in a lot of cases. But anyway, um, yeah. So I like that aspect and that connection that he has to Himmel, and you know, it just is fascinating to see how many people are inspired by that troop of heroes.
Yeah,
I really like that.
definitely.
And the lesson that he kind of learned from what happened to his village is that sometimes it's the little boring things that bring the most joy.
Mm,
Uh, the, a lot of this story is about living in the moment and enjoying the little things in life. I feel like, uh,
absolutely.
and it's a very important message.
I agree. But now Virbal is going to the front lines, or
Mm.
to the northern frontier to fight the demons in the war. And he did go with Era and Sharf, or yeah, for as far as we've seen it. But supposedly the plan is for him to part ways with them before he reaches the front lines.
Mm.
So that's something I hope to see a little bit of. Not necessarily just him, but for like our party to kind of join him for some time there at some point further down the line.
Right. Yeah, I wonder if their journey will go across there. I'm not sure.
Virbil seemed to think so. He
Mm.
made a comment like that you guys will probably pass by there eventually or something like that. I think.
Yeah, I think that'd be really exciting to see.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So he mentions how he was going to kill Fern in the match.
Mm.
I guess he's not that bloodthirsty, or wouldn't go that far in this case.
Yeah.
But he does say he regrets not killing Ubil,
Yeah.
and how that would have been better for humanity or the world or whatever he says. Like, it's like, oh my gosh.
Uh-huh.
I mean, those are some heavy words, my dude.
Precisely. That was interesting. Like he must have
Yeah.
sent. I mean, obviously, her just being her.
Uh
I
huh.
mean, I wouldn't blame anyone for being, I guess, suspicious of her or feeling cautious around her. But I don't know. Like, could he have sensed something more than just what we as readers can see or can know? Like, could he sense something magically about her, something dangerous or anything like that? I don't know.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm. But is that all on Verbal?
Yeah.
Because then let's move on to Ubel next, since we did touch on her a little bit here. She obviously passes well, no big
Mm-hmm.
surprise.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she was not taken in as an apprentice,
Dang it.
which was a surprise. Um, uh, and by the end of the whole thing, when our protagonists are leaving Oysirst, and we see some panels of most of the characters from the exam, and they're all kind of uh, with friends, like friends that they made before or during the exam, and kind of hanging out, except for Ubel, who is walking alone
mm-hmm.
in some direction.
Yeah.
So many questions. I have so
So
many questions about
so many
her.
questions. It feels like she just kind of left the story without really. I mean, she creeped people out in a way and got into altercations on a couple occasions, but not to the point where I was expecting. To be honest, like I kind of
Right.
expected her to take more of a antagonistic role. It's quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Granted, maybe her character is more just so a chaotic evil type of character where they're not necessarily the villain, but they're just this loose cannon or this
Yeah,
unpredictable force that everyone is weary of
precisely.
in a way. Um, yeah.
I could definitely see that.
So one thing that is really interesting to me is with Serie, she doesn't even ask her certain questions. She just automatically passes her,
Hmm.
and she almost talks to. I think she talks to everybody like briefly, even the people she failed. I mean, there may have been one or two cases where it was just automatic fail, fail, fail. Um, but all the people she passed, she definitely had something to say to them.
Hmm.
But not Ubel. Why?
Yeah, yeah, it's like the Sorting Hat in Harry Potter, like putting on Draco Malfoy, Slytherin. uh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little disturbing in that sense. But another thing, I basically said all that I want to about Ubel right now, but the rest is for predictions. But I guess there's just a lot of potential for her character. Just don't know where it's gonna go, and
Uh-huh.
surely this is not the last time we see her.
Oh yeah, surely. Mm,
But I have some thoughts on what could happen next for her.
gotcha. Well, then we'll talk about that in a bit. Let's talk a bit about Land now. His reveal was very fun. The fact that
Yeah.
he's just been home in his hometown, just chilling this whole time. I
Wow.
really like that.
It was pretty amazing. I did not expect that. I did not expect him to pass at all.
Right, right. No, me
Uh,
neither.
but
But learning this about him, I can definitely
yeah,
understand him passing, though. You know.
yeah, for sure. That's impressive.
Uh huh.
Amazingly so. I wonder if Frieren picked up on that too. I don't know.
Oh yeah, good question.
Oh, that's the other thing. I wonder what Frieden thoughts on Ubel are as well.
Yeah.
Uh, both Land and her, but more so Ubel, because Land like is a very interesting character, and that was a very cool reveal, but not as, I guess, impactful potentially as Ubel's character. So it's
Yeah.
like, what exactly does Frieden think about all this? I don't know.
Right. Yeah. That is a really good question. I have no clue.
I guess you got to have some mysteries and questions to be answered for later type situations in a story like this, but still, it's
Precisely. Yeah.
I want to know.
We will let this simmer for a while, and
Yeah.
yeah, we gotta get back to this later on. But then yeah, a little bit about learning perhaps the first class mage. Um,
What a punk comes up to
right?
fight. Come on.
He is crazier than I thought to just attack Frieren like that. I mean, he is very strong. He did break through
Yeah,
her
sure.
defensive magic, which I guess we shouldn't be surprised about. He is a first class mage after all. But
Hmm.
man, he's mad. Um, and it's honestly it's pretty tragic to see someone be so desperate for fame that you'd go as far as to kill a person.
Hmm.
'Cause that's basically what he tried or did. Yeah. At least he seemed to, or Frieren was able to kind of talk him into feeling a little bit better, I believe.
Yeah.
So that is something.
I guess one other thing about him, there's a panel when everyone's going their separate ways of him and
Oh yeah,
Aira. Did we already know that they related? Did we already know that?
I don't know. Like to my knowledge, there's no connection between the characters. So I was also a bit surprised to see him with her and Virbel and
Yeah, because
Sharft.
it looks like she's introducing him to them.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're related or something.
She mentioned her grandpa's fighting style, how Fern's fighting style reminded her of her grandfather's. So she definitely has one who's a mage.
Oh, that's true. That's a good memory. Yeah. Honestly, I like that theory considering this panel here. I'm gonna go with believing that until we have a reason not to.
Yeah, I mean, sure, why
I
not?
like it.
I'm not exactly sure how much either of these characters will be in the story, but
Nah.
that's kind of a cool connection, I guess.
uh, yeah, yeah, seriously. I feel like it's definitely a good possibility. Sweet. So next up, I'd like to talk a little bit about the hero of the South.
Mm,
This was a very fun reveal, and it made sense to find out that there wasn't just Himmel who was a hero. You know, there has been other
right.
heroes as well. And this guy lived seemingly around the same time, back during the war with the Demon King. By the way, this the statue that we see, of him, is in a town called Fabel Village. Fabel just means fable, like it's just that word in German, which I guess you could look back at the war with the demons and whatnot to be kind of a fable, if that's how we should take it, like a fairy tale or a myth or whatever. Either way, the hero of the South, he may not have been the one to slay the Demon King, but he did slay 3 of the 7 Sages of Destruction. So that's
Yeah,
mad props to that.
very impressive.
And also, he can see the future. That's
Yeah.
kind of impressive too.
You know, different, obviously, but he kind of reminds me of Bone from To Your Eternity. Uh,
It's the mustache.
it's the mustache, and also having this strange power, uh,
Mm,
different powers, but seeing the future is not something that I don't think we've had in this story. And it's interesting that the demon he killed was one that could see 1,000 years in the future. Was that how the story went?
I believe that's what they said. Yeah. So they had essentially the same magical powers, which
Yeah,
is interesting.
very interesting.
mm, mm.
I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing that will never be touched again, but at least in this kind of a story. But yeah, it's interesting to think about. But it was also a very strong chapter in that he told Frieren what her future would be
Yeah.
with the Himmel and whatnot, and how much of an impact he and the rest of the party would have in her life. And it's like, wow,
Yeah, like they would kill the Demon King. Like he even told her that.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yeah, no, it's very very interesting. So she knew. I wonder if he told, like, if there was anything kind of off page or like in a different scene where he told her something that's still ahead of her, or if everything that he told her is in her past now. I wonder.
I do wonder, yeah,
Because I mean, I could see this being just like a one-off character kind of, but I do think it would be interesting if we would ever, like, at some point go back to learn even more about this character, because I think there's a lot of potential with him.
yeah. It's such a fun one-off character that it'd be a shame to not have him there again in some aspect.
Definitely, yeah. But through his story, we got a little bit more insight into a little bit related to the 7 Sages of Destruction. And it got me thinking kind of about what exactly do we know about them and all of that. So I tried to kind of gather as much information about all of that as I could. And I'm going to try to summarize it here a little bit. And maybe we could have a little bit of a discussion if there's anything that arises.
Sure.
Um, so obviously, there are 7 Sages of Destruction, or there were, at least initially. And Himmel, the hero's party, they defeated 2 back during the war back then.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know which 2, but we know that they defeated 2. And the hero of the South defeated 3. Again,
Mm.
we don't know which 3. And then obviously we know that Frieren defeated Aura later on in
Mm-hmm.
present day, kind of. So that makes 6 defeated Sages of Destruction, leaving 1 Sage of Destruction that should still be around,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is an interesting thought. Obviously, Aura the Guillotine is dead. We know that there's one that's mentioned by name called Berse the Immortal, who we know that the hero's party fought. We learned that through Virbel, but we don't know for sure if they defeated him or not. Böse, by the way, means angry or mean or evil in German. But those are really the only 2 of the 7 Sages of Destruction that we know, like by name.
Mm.
So yeah, maybe it's Böse, that's the remaining one. Maybe it's somebody else. But yeah.
I wonder in Verbal's flashback if there's a shot of a guy who's potentially one of the other Lords of Destruction or whatever the term is.
Sages of Destruction.
Sages of
Yeah.
Destruction. He has really big horns and the shoulder pads.
Uh, right.
It could just be a
Actually,
generic demon design, but I don't know. Maybe that's the new head or something.
we do get to see like when in the flashback with the Hero of the South, we do get to see all of the seven sages standing like below Schlecht, because there's an image of Schlecht. Schlecht is like hovering in the air, and then we see all of the other seven. I mean, it's kind of dark, but we do see. I mean, obviously, I can point out Aura and Berse standing there, and the others. Obviously, I don't know the name of either of the others, but
Hmm.
at least we get pretty decent representations of all seven there.
There is a guy with somewhat similar horns, but he's not wearing like a helmet, or
Hmm.
he definitely has hair, so it's not exactly similar. So maybe it's someone else.
Yeah, it could have just been some generic demon guy.
Yeah.
Cause yeah, aside from just these seven stages of destruction, the Demon King had like other main like major like demon guys working for him. Obviously,
Mm.
Schlecht the Omniscient
Mm-hmm.
was the guy that killed the Hero of the South, who seemed to be pretty much on the same level as the seven stages of destruction. Just he didn't count as being a part of that group. And we also had Qual, the Elder Sage of Corruption, who was defeated back in the first volume.
Oh yeah, Qual was his name. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So he wasn't one of the destruction one. He was in a separate group or a separate thing.
He was referred to as the Elder Sage of Corruption, not a
Hmm.
Sage of Destruction. So
Got.
it's a little different.
Mm,
So yeah, he
gotcha.
wouldn't have been either of those. Plus, I did also double check, with like comparing the first book, like his design, to those seven that we see there, and yeah, he's not one of them. Because for a moment I was like, maybe it's like a translation thing or something, like maybe it's supposed to be the same type of sage, but no, I don't believe it is.
Mm,
So yeah, Schlecht and Qual are two other major demons, but not part of the seven sages of destruction.
gotcha.
Regardless, I'm very excited to see who the final one is, the remaining of the seven sages, because I feel like that could be something major in the story further down the line.
Yeah, I agree.
By the way, real quick, Schlecht, that name of the omniscient demon, Schlecht, as far as I could understand it, Schlecht is not actually a proper word in German. However,
Hmm.
Schlechter, if you add er at the end of it, means butcher or slaughterer.
Oh,
So
that
it
makes
probably
sense.
plays with that. Yeah, right. um, so that's probably what it's supposed to be. Anyway, anything else on any specific characters?
Nope, nope.
All right, then let's move straight on into predictions. I'll just kick it off by predicting, which we have said to be fair already, but Fern and Stark, their relationship, I want to see continue to grow, and I am expecting to see that.
Yeah, no. I don't know at what pace this will go. To be honest, I didn't expect to see uh a date here in this volume.
No.
Um, so that was pleasantly surprised. But I guess we past couple volumes we've been doing a lot of magic and focusing on other characters. And before this arc, we had a whole like dancing scene with them and everything. So I guess
True.
it was
True.
kind of gradually going up to this, but still, it was a pleasant surprise to see them go on a date like
Mm.
this. I don't know how fast this will go. I expect there to be a couple more dates. Uh, I don't know how intimate they'll get. We may not even see them ever kiss. Like maybe it'll be like an off-screen type of a situation.
Oh,
Um,
never.
I I don't have much faith in Japanese mangaka for at times. Like at times they deliver, and at times it feels like they're just too shy to do anything. Like there's like I don't know how to make this one impactful. You don't need, it doesn't need to be different. Just let them kiss.
I know what you mean, and I know which series specifically you're criticizing right now. But I know there's at least two.
Actually, I wasn't thinking of one specific,
Okay.
but I know which one you're thinking of.
Okay. Either way, I'm holding out hope that we will get to see them kiss before this show is over, before this
Yeah.
series ends. Um, but yeah, it's gonna continue gradually.
Right, it'll be a gradual thing.
I really want to see Sign again soon.
That was my first thing. Is he
Mm.
coming back? Like I feel he was really part of the party.
Right, he's like the only other one that's actually felt like a party member, even though it was brief. Like
Exactly.
he did feel
Yeah.
like the fourth guy, you know.
Yeah. I agree. So I'm hoping he'll be back here pretty soon.
Yeah.
And then we get some resolution to his whole journey.
Exactly. Yeah, I really want to know what's going on with him right now. Did he was he able to find Gorilla Guy or whatever his
Yeah,
name
I don't know.
was?
I want to know.
I really want to know. Yeah. Yeah, and that also, as I said before, I expect that they will meet up with Verbal, kind of at the front lines eventually. That's something that I think should be very exciting.
I'm curious to see when we'll meet some of these characters again.
Mm.
Denken, I would like to
Right.
see again. Maybe visit his village where his wife is buried.
Definitely.
Get another emotional moment like that.
Seriously, I think there's plenty more with his character that could be explored, and
Yeah,
I'm pretty confident that we'll see him again. I feel like he made such a big impact as a character in this arc that yeah, we gotta. I feel like we gotta.
I agree. And then Ubel, a
Mm.
big question mark in the chapter where they all part ways. Like you mentioned, she's kind of by herself.
Yeah.
I did start to think maybe she's going. Well, it depends on what direction she's going. If she's going north, then clearly she's has her own destination in mind. But if she's going the opposite direction, I wonder if she's going to find land. You know, like
Yeah.
maybe she was able to figure out that he's actually somewhere else,
Right.
and she was just playing coy the whole time. Because she kind of had already done that in the dungeon where she knew that it was a double.
That's true.
There was a whole decoy moment.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she knew that it was not the real him. So her being as impressive as amazed as she is, like maybe she's so obsessed with getting that spell, that magic, she tries to go find land.
I mean, could be.
I don't know how we'll find that out, to be honest.
Right. I mean, I feel like, or what would be the reason for why she would want to become a first class mage? Did she have a plan to go north? If she did, then yeah, she would have had to become a first class mage in order to
Right.
access that area. But if
Right.
if that isn't a plan that she has, then what other reason would she have to take this exam?
Right. And that's why, if she's going north, then that whole idea of her trying to visit land is not feasible in my idea.
Right.
But I think one reason why she would want to take the exam is to find new spells to learn,
Yeah.
to steal. And maybe she did find that spell that she really wants.
That's fair.
Maybe.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. She definitely was very interested in that specific spell.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see that.
Either way, she's got to come back at some point.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind that she will.
One other thought I had was, what if she ends up, for heaven forbid, joining the demon army?
Oh.
Like I don't know. I mean, is she that corrupted that she would join that side? Are the demons that open-minded to let her join? Like I don't know.
That's a really interesting thought. Because I like the demon magic. I can't remember all of the lore things about different types of magic now, but demon magic is different from both the goddesses magic and the folk magic or whatever they call it. that the humans use, right?
Hmm.
But I wonder, is it possible for her to learn demon magic spells with her abilities?
Oh yeah,
That would be interesting. If that's the case, that would be very
that would
interesting.
be very interesting and something that I'm sure she'd be interested in.
Oh,
You
for
know,
sure. Yeah,
extend
that,
her repertoire.
that I really like the thought of this, even though it is bad.
Right. At the same time, a lot of the characters in this story, besides the demons, they don't necessarily have these malicious, antagonistic desires in the end of the day. Like before this
Mm,
volume, I would have said Serie was probably on the same path as Ubel, but
right.
that's clearly not the case. If anything, Serie and Verbel are similar.
Mm,
And I think even last volume, we were starting to maybe come slightly around on Ubel. I mean, still wary, but you do get some backstory for her and also how she treated land. I think maybe there was a bit of sympathy that was going on there. So maybe there's more to be had, but I don't know. I know I'm talking a lot about her, but I guess what that means to me is that this character has not had the satisfaction or the satisfying moment that I think her introduction set up.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. I mean, absolutely.
it felt like her character was going to be super impactful to the story, and that really
Mm.
wasn't quite the case.
Right. No, but seriously, like with a backstory and a personality and a design like hers,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it really it there is a lot of potential with her, and it makes you really want more. Obviously, more than we've gotten so far.
Yeah,
But I think it's just a matter of time that we will get there
you're right. You're right.
for sure. Last character I wanted to bring up as a possible someone that we may see in the future is Kraft. I feel like it's been a while,
Oh yeah, I like Craft. Yeah,
but
bring him back.
even although if we don't see him for a while, maybe show us another elf. I mean, I know they're supposed to be rare and like far apart and few, uh, so chances are that you won't meet one. But yeah, I mean, I'd welcome more. We've only seen three, so I feel like there could be more, or there should be more than three.
Three. You're including Frieren, right?
Yeah, Frieren, Serie, and
Okay.
Kraft are the only three elves that we know, right?
Because I was gonna say, meeting three L's on one journey, like that's unheard of. Not
True.
including Frieren.
That's true. Yeah, you're
Uh,
right. You're right. You're right. They are supposedly rare enough that most people will never even meet one. So yeah,
one.
that
Yeah.
that's fair. That's fair. So maybe it's too much to ask.
But well, maybe. But I do agree that any chance to see more elves or interact with them in some way is a chance I'll take.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but maybe it would be too frequent.
Right.
Unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
we'll see. We'll see.
Definitely.
My last thing is Serie seems no longer to be a nuisance. I guess we kind of touched on that, but
Hmm.
besides banning Frieden from the Citadel or whatever for 1,000 years, I don't think I'm nearly or I'm not worried about her at all now, like I
Right.
was in the previous volumes, where I thought maybe she would even try to impede Frieden from taking on or going back to the Demon King's castle or lair or whatever. You know,
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I
um,
mean, yeah. Our view on her has changed drastically since last time.
right. So I really don't have much predictions for her in that sense, other than yeah, maybe she'll come back eventually as just a one-off thing, or maybe she'll have a heart-to-heart with Frieden again. And
Mm.
I like the idea of them never seeing eye to eye, but eventually cooperating still for whatever
Precisely.
reason. I
That would be
think that would
nice.
be yes, very nice and poetic.
Maybe finding some kind of newfound liking toward each
Well,
other,
yeah, I mean,
but still leaving it somewhat strained.
yeah. At the end of the day, they both love magic in different ways, right? Like, I mean, someone who doesn't like magic would not collect all those spells over the years, don't you
Exactly.
think?
I mean, she is truly ancient. Like,
Hmm.
maybe in her youth she was a lot like Frieren. Maybe we'll learn something like that.
Ah, yeah, that'd be cool.
I don't know.
That's all I have on predictions.
Gotcha. Me as well. So yeah, beautiful volume. I think this series just, I think for me at least, very steadily delivers quality content. Like I feel like for a long time now, the books have been, in my opinion, just kind of equally great,
Yeah,
which is awesome. And it's obviously a very good feat to be able to pull off, making this consistently good content.
for sure. And it's nothing that's incredibly mind blowing or I'll even say blood pumping exciting, you
No,
know, which is sometimes things I can enjoy, but it's still a very impactful, emotional journey. Just more on so on the thoughtful, thought provoking, and wholesome side,
for sure.
but also dark at times. Not to
Definitely,
take that away from
sometimes.
it.
That is true. That is true. When it wants to be, it definitely succeeds at that as well.
Yeah,
Yes. No, but it's yeah. I don't really have any like new impressions, I guess, of this series as a whole after this book. It just continues to be what it was before, which is great.
yeah,
Quite awesome. So, is that all for this time?
yep.
All right. So, if you guys enjoy our content, you can follow us on Twitter at Umami Manga, and it would be lovely if you'd like to support us by rating our show on the podcast platforms and subscribing to our channel, Umami Manga, on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time when we'll talk about Volume 8. Bye bye!
See you later. I feel like Nintendo has been pretty good with stuff like that. For example, Iwata, I think during the Wii U's failure, he took a big pay cut so they wouldn't have to fire anybody.
Oh, really? Oh my god. That just makes me love him even more. He is a saint. That guy.
He
Oh
really
my
was.
gosh. I think
Yeah.
he was the first celebrity death that I cried when it happened, I believe.
Well, because he's just so real and down to earth. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
it felt less of an entertainer and more of a just a friend, kind of.
Yeah, and then having watched all of the Nintendo Directs that he hosted, and
Yeah.
also like knowing about stuff like in like his early days as a programmer, how he, it was thanks to him that they were able to fit Kanto into Pokemon Gold and Silver.
Right,
Like he
right.
did some programming wizardry to make that work. It's incredible.
Uh huh.
Man, what a guy.
What a guy.